One of the cornerstones of free speech across the world is having the freedom of the press. Here in the United States, we have it enshrined in our Constitution under the First Amendment. However, even though the press is considered essential for free speech and free expression, in the United States, the American media is looked on very poorly. So today on War Made Simple, we're going to take a look at why that is and what they can possibly do to address that. Hey guys, Bill here. Welcome back for another episode. I apologize, it has been so delayed in getting out. I had an ear infection, something else hit me, work piled up, and then we had the Thanksgiving season. So I had thing after thing after thing after thing. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like that's going to slow down anytime soon. So for the time being, I'm going to be forced to go to one episode a week. I know, I apologize for that, but it's the only way that I can keep delivering quality content and not just rushing things forward. So with that being said, expect one video a week from now on. But let's get to the meat of the video, which is going to be the American media. So before we start talking about the issues in the American media, I first want to kind of lay out the ground rules. The American media functions under the US Constitution under the First Amendment, which is the freedom of the press, or at least part of it. This means that the American media operates completely separately from the US government, at least in theory. It's supposed to present a fair and balanced viewpoint, and it shouldn't be restricted by the government in what they're presenting to the American public. This, in theory, allows the American public to be well informed about the going on about the country and why we're doing certain things the way we are. Notice I said in theory a lot there. And that's because the current American media system really is not liked by its population. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the American media itself. The American media has two different sides, being the right and the left right now. Yes, divided politically, the complete opposite of what it's supposed to be. The right-wing media primarily is composed of Fox News and a couple of other smaller groups, but generally speaking, Fox is the right-hand side. The left-hand side is a little bit more diverse. You have MSNBC, you have CBS, you have CNN. There's a lot more kind of stations to tune into for that. And because of this, Fox News has way more viewers than any of the individual stations on the left because there's a lot more spread out. So often a lot of people will think, oh, America is a lot more conservative than democratic. Not the case. It's just happening to be that there's only one platform for everyone on the right to choose from versus like 10 on the other side. This also skews the American viewpoint when it comes to the information given. If you have a lot more material from the left as opposed to from the right, that means that there's going to be a lot more kind of bias in the reporting towards one side. And I'm not taking a stance for the Republicans or for the Democrats. I'm simply giving you the information as is. When you have 10 different Democratic-leaning news companies versus one, chances are you're gonna have a lot more left-wing media coming out. That's just by default. Question is, what's the quality on both sides? And frankly, not great on either side. But after this recent election cycle, it's very, very clear that the left-wing side has not been doing very well. There was a lot of claims during this election cycle that Kamala Harris was going to essentially knock out Trump by a landslide. There was all this different media coverage, and there was a lot less pressure from the left's media than the right's to have Harris on talk shows, live interviews, no scripting, that kind of stuff, but it never happened. And Harris, the only time she really got challenged was by right-wing media groups. There's maybe one or two left-wing media groups that really challenged her. And this led to kind of a fake view of Harris from the left-hand media. And if you think I'm making this up, I would love to be making this up. Unfortunately, post-election analysis shows a lot of people feel that way. CNN, MSNBC, and other media from the left is plummeting both in viewership and subscription, while Fox News has been on the rise tremendously in terms of new viewers. Many people apparently appear to be frustrated with the state of the American media on the left and want changes. And it looks like there are going to be some changes. But ultimately, this doesn't solve the big issue on both sides, because very much Fox News could have done the same thing, and the same thing could be playing out on the opposite side. It just happened to be on the left-hand side of the media this time. Why does this happen? Well, American media doesn't really report the news anymore. So you might have just went, Bill, they're literally a news station. Isn't it their job to report the news? Well, yes, but it's tailor-picked news. Good example. The only thing that you have heard for the last probably 3 weeks at this point is about Trump's cabinet picks, about stuff Trump's saying in Mar-a-Lago, about some of the stuff about Hunter Biden that came out this week, all American localized stuff to the presidency, almost everything. Has anyone heard about what's going on in Europe? About how France, Germany, and Britain's governments are falling apart? Has anyone heard about the fact that there's been a huge change in the pace in the Syrian civil war? The rebels have pretty much taken over the entire country. Or has anyone heard about the fact that the president of South Korea declared martial law and is currently facing possible impeachment? A lot of you probably just went, no, and that's my point. We are focusing on the political news here in this country to the point where none of the other news gets filtered in. We don't hear about anything going on beyond our borders, and on top of that, a lot of what's going on inside our borders. This is what people are frustrated with. We don't have an actual view of what's going on anymore. We have a tailored view that's presented to us in a way that makes whatever side presented seem like the good guys. There are no good guys when it comes to this. It is just, here's the information, here's the facts. And that's what news should be. It shouldn't be giving you a bias one way or another. Shows like The View are all about presenting the personal opinions of the individuals on the set, and they're welcome to do that. But they shouldn't be presenting it as fact, because it changes the viewer's mind when they see that. If you have someone saying Trump is a name that I'm not going to say because I'm not sure if YouTube's going to flag it, that will go ahead and make that individual believe that he is as bad as that individual, when really that's not the case. It's disinformation, I know it's a buzzword, but more importantly, it's dishonesty. And that's why a lot of Americans do not trust the media at this point. There needs to be a hard shift away from opinionated political views back to hard facts. And there's a couple places where you can actually find this now, and it's primarily independent journalists who don't take a side. YouTube's got some very great examples of this, and over the last couple of years, you've seen a lot of YouTube media shoot upwards, successfully building a base from the base that was formerly from the American media. And this has only been expanding as the years go on. Ultimately, if the US media is going to fix this, is kind of in their court at this point. They know what the problem is. They understand what the problem is. They just have to want to change the problem, because simply stating random viewpoints that the individuals have somewhat backed up by facts or things going on isn't enough anymore. The American people want genuine information. They don't want talking heads. So I'm aware this was a little bit different of a video, but this is kind of something that I've seen quite a bit. And a lot of people I've talked to just kind of around really want this issue addressed. The frustration I've seen for the American media is tremendous here in the States. But what do you guys think? Do you think, Bill, you're completely wrong and off point on this? Or you're saying, yeah, this is something that the American media needs to address, and address now? Well, let me know in the comments below. But until next time, I will see you guys probably going to be next Monday, if I'm being honest. But I might pop out something on Friday. We'll see. Until then, take it easy.